And many times I catch myself because there's something amazing that comes out when I let that person share their perspective. And it takes, I think, putting our ego aside to open up and to welcome and to almost empower that person to, man, I want to hear all kinds of ideas, wild, good things, bad things, everything.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a fantastic one. Our guest is a CPA and author of the CPA Firm Exit Playbook, helping firm owners plan and execute successful exit. Salim Omar, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. And, just in the pre-talk there, you've been at this a while. It's a lot of wisdom here that I think we're going to be able to tap into in this episode today. But before we start tapping into all of that, please tell us a little bit about you and your career and how you ended up doing what you're doing today.
Yeah, great place to start. Been at it for a while, 30 years in my own firm, almost 30 years. Started when I was 30 years old. And started a brick and mortar accounting firm in New Jersey. And that brick and mortar has evolved into now a virtual CPA firm with clients everywhere in the country and a team of about 25 everywhere as well.
Wow.
Left my CPA career, worked several years in the CPA space as a CFO, and had the entrepreneurial bug to start my own thing. And I did, and made so many mistakes, and really a realization, oh my goodness, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be or what I'd imagined. And it became a roller coaster ride in the first 7 years or so of trying to find the right clients, trying to keep the people I hired, and have some sort of a life outside my practice. And I went through all those challenges, and really an epiphany was, I really don't know how to run a business. I know the accounting stuff and the tax stuff, but running this and putting it all together is just like beyond me. And I stumbled across people that were successful at it, that were doing it, and it intrigued me of why is one entrepreneur successful while the other struggles. I see some people, their businesses are growing and they still seem to have a life. Why am I struggling with this small little thing that I'm trying to build? And I just wasn't doing it the right way. Came across Michael Gerber, the E-Myth, the person who wrote the E-Myth. Back in the 90s, I came across his book, The E-Myth Revisited. Really resonated with his message. And I said, yeah, I am the subject of this book. And it was Sarah, the bakery owner. This is describing me. I'm the first one in, I'm the last one out. And I'm miserable. So I was so intrigued by what he was teaching that I went to spend time with Michael back in the 90s. Spent an entire week with him and his team in California. And I said, Michael, I need your help. I need you to coach me through this process of going from working in the business to working on the business. And that was the beginning, Michael, of my journey of an awareness first, a self-realization that, the way I'm going about it, is not giving me the results that I want. And I started working on it. And early on, it was like, what does even working on it mean? And what kinds of things would I do working on it? And the more I did it, the better I got at it. And then it becomes a time where it's now all working on it and there's no working in it.
Amazing. We have a connection with E-Myth. It's one of my favorite books for business, and as well, I met Michael Gerber back in I guess it would have been kind of mid 2013ish at a conference, and you used his book as well in a small business back in this would have been before 2000 as well. Like it's a fantastic book. So I'd love to hear that journey. Like what started to change for you when you started working in that philosophy?
So it's really going from being a technician to being a manager and to being an entrepreneur. And so to create a successful business that is growing, and I think a business has to grow because otherwise there's no stagnant, it cannot be stable, it's dying. So business has to grow. And in order to create a business that can grow, we need to have the right systems in place. We need a client attraction system in place. We need a team system in place so that the team members, we're bringing on team members, they're happy with staying as a team member. And we need an operational system so that the business can run without bottlenecks and consistently and predictably. And so it became that awareness, that realization of the importance of systems. And everything is, I feel, a stepping stone. We learn from one person, and I give credit to Michael Gerber, and that because my mind had expanded, I started just being more open to other things that I would otherwise have not been open to. And so it became a plethora of really, learning from so many amazing mentors in leadership and marketing and running an accounting, running a business. So one thing led to another. Michael Gerber opened up my eyes to other things that I started just becoming a student of. And I think the undertone with all that is being curious. It is being curious and a certain level of humility and a certain level of keeping ego aside, saying that, I don't have all the answers and I'm just going to be curious. And up until this point in time, the more curious I am, I see the wonder, the gems that my team can bring in. I mean, off the top of them, my gut reaction is somebody is giving an idea in a team meeting, in a leadership meeting. I'm like, no, that won't work. I've been at it for 30 years. You don't know what you're talking about. You've been at it for 4 years. That's my initial reaction. And many times I catch myself because there's something amazing that comes out when I let that person share their perspective. And it takes, I think, putting our ego aside to open up and to welcome and to almost empower that person to, man, I want to hear all kinds of ideas, wild, good things, bad things, everything.
It's amazing perspective, and I think that's a maturing and aging access to wisdom, which is, for myself personally, as a young person, it's like, go from being always right about everything, and definitely hearing my father, my mother saying, kids know, you think you know it all, and kids do. They think they do. But as you grow older, as I've grown older, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's because I've been wrong so many times. I'm actually now willing to accept that I'm not always right, and accept other people's opinions and ideas, and also having children as well, now faced with the same things that my parents were, hearing about it and just letting it be and be like, yeah, you know what, I don't have all the answers, and I think that's an empowering place to be, and a place that opens up a whole lot of opportunity, not only for business opportunity, but also opportunity for peace of mind and tranquility. It's almost a surrender to the universe around us.
Yeah.
So, curious now to maybe talk a little bit about your book, because let's weave that in to the conversation. You met Michael Gerber. You've been at this a long time. What had you decide to write a book about exiting a firm?
Yeah. So back with Michael Gerber and then other mentors, learning from them, my accounting firm became less dependent on me. And I started like finding time for myself away from the accounting firm. My accounting firm became like a 2-day, I was needed there for like 2 days a week. I was like, okay, I'm in my 30s, 40s. I've got lots of energy. What do I do? I was like, all right, let's go and change how accountants run their firm. Let me teach what has worked for me. So I created a coaching business, a separate business from my accounting firm, called CPA Marketing Genius. And I had it up until COVID. It was for 12 years. And I had different training programs. I had coaching programs, masterminds, super conferences once a year with city tours. And it was kind of a full-blown business there. I authored 2 books during that 12-year period. The first one was The Ultimate CPA Practice in the New Economy. I wrote that in 2012, I think. And it was just sharing my message of how I'm running my firm. And then several years later, I wrote the $1 Million CPA Firm, and I wanted to show people how we attract clients and all that. And then COVID, coaching business, I shut that down, the coaching business, just primarily focused in on my practice. And I was like, man, I'm hearing firm owners that are thinking of the next chapter, but they don't seem prepared for it. And they're in a state of like, man, what do I do? Their identity is their business. I was like, all right. And, I've been reflecting on it myself. I turned 60 this year. I was like, this next chapter thing, let me start researching it, diving deep for myself, for others. And from that came the CPA Exit Playbook, and kind of going deeper into what are the things, how do you prepare your firm for sale? How do you prepare yourself emotionally so that you can grace into the next chapter with ease? And so the third book in the CPA space for accounting firms is my third one, the third and final one. It closes my three book loop with CPA firm owners.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And so you've written this book. I'd be really curious to maybe unpack a little bit of it. When people are thinking about this whole exit, you mentioned a few of them, one of them being preparing oneself for exiting. What do you see as the big mistakes that people make when they're thinking about that next chapter?
Not enough preparation in terms of time, preparing their firm. I mean, we want to think about our practice. What does the buyer want when they're buying a firm? They want a business that can run pretty smoothly, that a business that's not overly dependent on the owner. So a very systematized business, a business that has a team that can do the work, clients that are paying the right fees. And so these are, the various components of preparing the business that is going to be ready to sell. And really thinking of this the business has to continue after the person sells it. So you want to give it the best chance for success. And so the clients have to be prepared. The team has to be prepared when as we are approaching the time we want to sell. So there's so many different factors that have to be incorporated. It's not like, all right, next June I'm looking to sell it, so I'm just going to kind of work through it, and then I'll just put it on the market, and then boom, it's going to be sold, and I'm walking away from here. It doesn't give the best results to the new owner. It doesn't give the best results to the clients. It doesn't give the best results to the team. And most of all, it doesn't give the seller, us, the best results.
Absolutely. So for our listener, it's written for CPA firms, and this is a perfect opportunity for them to begin to start thinking about these things. What are the big things from a structural or operational standpoint that a firm needs to be thinking about implementing at least 3 to 5 years before exiting to maximize their firm value?
I'd say the first one is not too overly dependent on the owner. And it's got the benefit of not only preparing your firm for sale, but it's going to prepare your firm for now. You'll enjoy the firm because it's not just heavily dependent on you. So, shifting relationships to the team, standardizing the service delivery. How do we do things here? I think that's a big one, is getting the team to do more of the day-to-day stuff, not being overly dependent on the owner having to do that. So really removing the owner from being the technician, being the person who is delivering the product or the service, to being an owner of a firm that delivers that service. So really having the right systems in place, having the right team in place to deliver that service. Many times working with accounting firm owners, and Michael, sure, I talk about CPA firm owners, but this is not only,
every firm,
it's
every
everything.
business.
It's bookkeeping firms, It's accounting firms, it's even beyond us.
Yes.
It's really just business, period, is what it is, because it's a very similar advice we give to our own clients that are business owners in various industries. So don't make it owner dependent, make it, team centered. Fee structure, service agreements, engagement letters, clients that are not profitable, clients that are difficult to work with. Clean all that up just for your own sanity, even going beyond, wanting to sell the business. And then a business that is growing, I kind of alluded to earlier, the buyer wants a business that is growing. They don't want a business that's like doing the same numbers or growing very slowly or pluses and minuses. They want a business that is growing. And so putting a marketing system in place is, I think, really, really very important. And thankfully, early in my journey, I realized how important marketing was. And I became a student of marketing, and I continued to, just read, and, people like Seth Godin has one. I know I've seen that on your bio, that you've been in his circle, or he's been in your circle.
Yes.
So folks like him, just a different way of looking at things and not coming as another accounting firm. It's being a unique accounting firm. It's not having the client, a prospective client, making an apple-to-apple comparison. Oh, I can get this done down the street from you for this much. It's not having those conversations. It's just being unique in our offering and positioning the firm to be unique. Initially, I was like, I do accounting, I do taxes. What's unique about it? There was my initial reaction to it many years ago. And then the more I learned about it, I'm like, oh, wow, there's this whole different thing of how a firm can be unique and position itself in a very different way, that it stands out. As Seth Godin says, it's being the purple cow. Yeah, think of cows all, you know, uh, you know, no disrespect to anyone, but cows are all looking alike, and you've got the purple cow, and that's the one that stands out. And in the world of marketing, that's what we want to be, is the firm that stands out.
And it's so true. And it's one of those things that it's hard for our listener, I think, because their job isn't to be a marketer. And so it takes a bit of different thinking, and that's where you can, being curious and turning that on. And I think anytime you say, okay, well, I'm not good at marketing, I'm not good at sales, or I don't want to do, let's not even say that whether we're good or not, or I don't want to do marketing, or I don't want to do sales. When you have the big goal of being able to have a business that's valuable, that someone would want to buy, it gets motivational to, well, geez, I better figure this out. Because the reality is that firms are saleable, and it's a huge opportunity, and no one wants to buy a mess. And it's like, if you're selling a house, you don't just wake up one day and go, oh, let's sell the house. Guess what? People are going to walk in and go, why would I want to buy this house? Because you live in it, and you've got all your stuff in here, and maybe the walls need some paint, or that squeaky door, leaky tap, they need to get fixed. And then guess what? When you fix all those things, you're going to love the house more. You might not even want to sell it.
That's a great
And that's
analogy.
often, I remember a realtor telling me that when we were going to sell a property and we did all this work. She goes, you know what? When you do all this work, you're probably not going to want to sell it. And she was right. It was like, oh, it's a great place. What are we talking about here?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
this is why books like yours are great books to buy and to read, because they can be inspirational and set that foundation and be a line in the sand of like, what is the future? What are you trying to build? If many people don't even think about that, let alone going through and figuring all these bits out. So really, really great stuff when you think of, know what you want, know what you need to do, get the firm operating without you, have a marketing system that can grow the business. And I'd be curious to know a little bit more maybe about what you found to be the best bits of the marketing system that you think about, and how you attract new clients or sell different services to existing clients. What are some of the sweet spots that you've learned over the last 30 years?
Yeah, this was a concept that I first got introduced by Robert Middleton. I don't know if you know him, but he was a kind of a mentor, and he had a company, and I think he recently retired, but he's been at it, and he termed it, I think, education-based marketing, and it wasn't probably unique to him, this concept or this term, but I got it from him. Education-based marketing is really educate, build a relationship by giving free information, and I liked it. It was not salesy. It was getting people warmed up to me through what I shared. And the ones that were warm enough, they would raise their hand and say, yeah, Salim, I want to talk about how you can help me now with your services. And so it really fit in with my personality. I'm an introvert overall. And I don't hate networking events. I hate all that stuff of trying to schmooze and, just giving out business cards and the whole thing there, even though I did it. And I was like, man, I really hate it. And so, this education-based marketing really kind of, I was aligned to who I was. I felt a respectable way of starting a relationship with someone. And I believe that, as service providers, we've got so much knowledge, we've got so much experience in how we have helped clients in different ways. And if we can put that in the form of an article, if we can put that in the form of being an interview, getting interviewed, I think that elevates our status with the prospect, and we just put that information out. Most people are not going to become clients, and that's okay. But the ones that are going to be really good clients because they've kind of they've gone through that process. For me, that's been one of the tools, tools that I've used in going in any business, helping business owners exit out. For example, CPA, the CPA Exit Playbook. One of the early things I do entering a new market is I create a book. Like I did when I first went in the coaching business, I created the ultimate CPA practice back in 2012. It was one of the first things I did. For my own firm called Straight Talk CPAs, I wrote a book back in 99 called Straight Talk about Small Business Success in New Jersey. So I wrote a book for business owners in New Jersey because that's where my practice was located. And all of that has always paid huge dividends. Yeah, it's a lot of upfront work, no doubt. Putting a book together is no easy task. But anything along those lines, it doesn't have to be a book. It's really the idea, the concept is put good quality education out there and distribute it out there. So when you're doing social media, you're not just doing social media for the sake of doing social media. You've got a nice little magnet, a tool you can say, hey, if you like the little post I shared, I've created a special report on it. So you start attracting people. If you're in a networking event, and there are some people who enjoy networking events, but you're not going there, you're not giving a business card. You're like, hey, if you'd like to learn more, I've created this amazing report, and you can download it here. And so it becomes very non-salesy. And it's done good from an ROI standpoint for marketing.
A great way to market, and I appreciate the strategy as well. And it's a value first way to approach a relationship, and so many opportunities for our listener to think about. You did one, for New Jersey. There's all sorts of angles that you can come up with to help educate your ideal customer or a new customer base that you might be looking to go after, which it doesn't have to be complex. Like you said, it's just something of value that makes a difference for someone, that is a valuable way to get connected with them. And whether you share it on socials or you share it amongst your existing client base, wherever, it's the beginning. And I don't think enough people do it. I think it's a huge opportunity that is missed. And it's worked for you, and it's worked for many people. And especially with today's assistance that we have with all sorts of agents, artificial agents that can help us. Hey, come up with the idea, refine the idea, edit it, make sure that it's good, critique it. There's never been a better time to do this for anyone, really, if you have the desire.
Yeah.
And that's exciting.
Yeah.
But not everybody wants to do it. And maybe some people might think, oh, well, if it's so easy, then everybody's going to be doing it. And it's like, it's not the case. There's only so many people that want to be entrepreneurs, so many people that want to get into growth for their business, so many people that want to be the content creator. And so it just keeps going down to a very thin amount of people that want to do these things. So that's where the opportunities are, I think. When you think of the book that you've written, we've talked a little bit about that. Are you exiting? What are you thinking about? Get yourself out of the business in terms of the work that's being done, to generate a marketing engine that's going to help grow the business. What's the next bit that you would say readers are going to learn from the book?
Selling is not necessarily the answer. Exit can mean continuing to be part of it, but in a different way. Most bookkeepers, accountants, CPAs, they enjoy the work, but they don't enjoy everything else that can come with it. And so we can structure it in a way that we can continue doing our work, enjoying the work, and being part of something that you've been part of for so many years. It doesn't have to be goodbye. You don't have to say goodbye to it. And human beings are living longer with the advent of all the medical stuff happening. And we've got long lives. And if this is where we enjoy and we get satisfaction, but we just don't want to do it for 50 hours a week. We want to do it for 20 hours a week. It can be a nice, healthy balance of staying part of an organization we've taken so long, so many years to build, but doing some aspects of it that you continue building and working, but teaming up with somebody who is buying the firm or merging, who can do the other parts of it that you don't necessarily enjoy doing.
So true. So now that you've written this book, what's the next step for you? What are the things that our listener can take advantage of, perhaps? I mean, obviously buying the book is one opportunity, but then do you have other resources around the book that you've prepared for people to help them in this journey?
Yeah, so it's a different business. It's with a separate website. It's called Straight Talk Transitions. And I kept the Straight Talk branding. It's, just straightforward advice. My CPA firm is called Straight Talk CPAs. So this is a Straight Talk Transitions, and it's helping firm owners with the next chapter. And we've got several programs on the website of how they can get that help with the next chapter.
Beautiful. Well, that's really exciting. It sounds like a fantastic book, and you have such a great wealth of knowledge that I would imagine our listeners can learn a lot about where you've been and hopefully help them get to where they want to go. We'll have those links in the show notes, and we'll look forward to, again, it's that time of year, a great time to buy gifts for people. And if you're thinking about gifting anyone in our community or people that are in this industry, this would be a great book to get them to start off the year, I would imagine. And so this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you being on the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
The pleasure is all mine and our listeners. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. And to learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.